Hi everyone! In this video, I'm going to talk about this curriculum from Brave Writer. The one that we chose to do is Jot It Down, and this curriculum is for writing. And so this program provides 10 writing projects geared toward the ages of 5 through 7. So I went ahead and got the digital version, which I would have preferred to have gotten the physical copy, but this is what was given to me from the charter school. So it's okay, we'll work with it. I do apologize, this tablet that I have has a crack in it, and so I'm so sorry if that'll be very annoying for the video. I don't know how it's gonna affect the quality also of the video, but I'm just hoping that I can get this video out so that hopefully the information will be helpful to anyone, because I'm gonna try to be as thorough as I can without reading the whole book to you, but condensing the info, but also being thorough on how this program works and the ideology behind it. So let's go ahead and get started. The first thing you'll notice are the table of contents. She starts out with an introduction, which goes into just a bit of her background and her reasons and her views on why and how she teaches writing to young children the way she does. I'll briefly go through that, and then there's the Jot It Down year-long program. Part 1 is language arts, part 2 oral language, part 3 writing projects, and that's what this program, the Jot It Down program, is going to help with, are the writing projects. However, these two is just for us to read and to be able to accomplish that on our own on the side. So I'll briefly go into that as well. Also, she talks about setting the context, just making your house cozy and making your child enjoy the work that they're doing. There's the routine versus schedule, where she talks about the benefits of having a routine instead of having like a strict schedule. Another cool thing this provides are pages where she gives like a schedule that you can follow, and what I did was I printed those out, and I'm gonna keep that in a binder, and I'll show you that at the end as well. So the introduction, she goes into the development of the children at this age and how she feels is the best way to teach them, verbalize their ideas so that we can start to teach them writing, to how to write them down. And then there's a nice box here that this is a list that indicates when a child is ready for this Jot It Down program. Just how you can know that your child is ready so that you're not pushing them too early to start this program. And so then here's the Jot It Down year-long program, just kind of an overview. It goes into the 3 parts, which is the language arts, oral language, and writing projects. Language arts are anything that is unrelated to original thought. So it's things like literature, spelling, grammar, vocab, those kind of things. So she makes suggestions on which of her programs to choose according to the child's phase of development. She gives a guide for that. So that's what this list is here. Then she gets into part 2, oral language, which this Jot It Down program offers practices mostly through talking, she says, since they're still learning to write and read. And then is the part 3, the writing projects. So what it says here is basically she suggests that you can do 1 project per month, but you can customize, when to use each project according to the child's interests or their hobbies, things like that. So you can do them out of order. And then again, she just reminds you that we parents will transcribe while the student narrates to us because they're still working on their penmanship and we don't want them to tire out. And finally, setting the context, she gives tips for making the home homey and so that we can be close to our kids and snuggly, and just how to have a warm environment. She gives a lot of good tips on how to do that. Now she gets more in depth on the language arts. She just gives detail on how to incorporate language arts, each component in homeschool, with tips and ideas on how to include these skills. So there's what she calls the Brave Writer lifestyle. She gets into poetry tea time, weekly movies, nature study, art appreciation and music appreciation. Those are the things that can help incorporate those language arts skills. And then there's routine versus schedule, where she defines each word and then explains why routine is more beneficial and then how to create one. And she even provides sample routines for the seasons of the year. So this would be like the fall schedule, the winter schedule, the spring. So that's kind of just some nice ideas on how to develop your routine. Next, she goes into part 2, the oral practices. This is where she talks about developing the verbal part of brain's language center. So she says should happen naturally through daily conversation. First, she talks about recitation, and then there's a chart here of all kinds of facts that at this age they can learn. And you'll even notice a lot of them are very easy and simple that they probably already know, like the alphabet and counting backwards, things like that. And then of course like other things that they can learn. And then she goes into memorization, like of learning songs, poems, scripture, etc. Third is wordplay. This is where they would be learning like rhyming, alphabet games, things like that. 4 is narration or juicy conversations, and how to get children to discuss topics about books or their day and things like that. And then storytelling, trying to get our kids to retell stories and also make up their own. And then 6 is one-on-one time. This is where we can talk with our children one-on-one. So now here's the part you've been waiting for. It's the writing program, and that's what this Jot It Down program is all about. This is where she explains the 10 projects that you'll do. You can do one per month, so it's a 4-week process. So she has a box here that explains how each week will go. So week 1 will be the topic selection, research, gathering materials. Week 2, we'll have content development, like transcribing, collecting photos, drawing illustrations, etc., depending on the project. Week 3 is an expansion of detail, any revision if needed, and compiling content. And then finally, week 4 is publishing, which is binding, printing, assembling the final version, and sharing with an interested audience. Right here is the list of all the projects, just so that you can view them all at once. And I'm going to go into each project. And then just another reminder that we're going to be transcribing what our children tell us. So the first project is the fairy tale project. And in this project, it's going to be a 9 to 10 page booklet with visual and written narration. So basically what we're going to do is read to them the fairy tale, and there's going to be several fairy tales that we can make this project. That's why it's 9 to 10 pages. Each page is a different fairy tale. So we read the fairy tale, and then the child will retell it, and they will do so visually by drawing it, and of course they can be as creative as possible, make it crafty, and then orally, and then we can transcribe what they tell us, how they retell the fairy tale. And then what's nice is she gives questions for us to ask our children to, draw out their thought to help them with their narration. And she also supplies a list for the visual narration. So these are the supplies, for example, for Rapunzel. These are the things we can get so that they can make their visual narration. And for the oral narration, here are the questions we can ask them so that they can make it easier for them to give us the oral narration. And then what's nice is that she even provides an example of her own children's artwork and what they wrote. The next fairy tale is the Frog Prince. Again, she gives some questions we can ask them, and then she gives an example of how they completed their art. And she just continues this same format for all the fairy tales. There's Goldilocks and the Three Bears, Princess and the Pea, the Ugly Duckling, the Three Little Pigs, Cinderella, the Little Red Riding Hood, Hansel and Gretel. So another thing that she noted was that you can use different authors, different stories, read the several different versions of these stories to them, and then they can come up with their narration after that. The second project is art appreciation. This is where you go to an art museum, and this will help them with observation, and observation helps them with their vocabulary. So you're going to note down as you're going through the art museum, you'll be noting down the child's observations. There's also a list of games that she provides to kind of help the children with their observations. So there's like a matching game, a color of the day, story time, artists at work, treasure hunt, the pageant, and party time. Again, these are all going to help them, and you'll be jotting down what they say. There's also activities that include things like postcard matching, color finding, counting, making up stories, and sketching that they can do. So again, you can see how this is a very creative way to kind of bring out their expressions. Project 3 is a photo journal. This is where you would be taking pictures of your child for a few days, and these pictures are going to fit a chosen theme. She has an objective list here. The objective is working on sequencing, organization, captions, planning ahead, and sharing published work. So you'll be sorting photos and organizing them in categories. You can even make different like sequences like chronological, activity, alphabetical, and each time you would be recording so that when the child chooses their favorite sequence, it's easier to put it back together. And then after that, you'll be captioning your photos. So again, bringing out that writing aspect. This is where she kind of helps you with each week, what you'd be doing. Week 1 was the research, week 2 organization, week 3 caption writing, and week 4 is binding the album. The 4th project is an animal mini book. This is going to include facts, poetry, trivia, jokes, and experiences in writing. This project will resemble a report, but she says it's a funner way to make a report on the animals. So you'll be combining science and history and facts. So that's the nice thing about this project, is them being able to combine writing with those subjects as well. There'll also be maybe going to the zoo, books with pictures, and the internet, many ways to teach them how to do good research. So they'll be putting together their writing and binding that. The 5th project is posters. This leaves a lot of room for creativity. This is where they will create large pictures with captions at the bottom. Again, we'll be transcribing those. The ideas that she gives there's like season themed art projects. There's also books read where they can narrate that. There's news events and there's life events. And then this is how you can plan out the week, and then continue to do that to build 1 poster per week for a month. Project 6 are lists. So this is where they'll be sorting data into categories. They'll also be practicing their handwriting without the pressure of thinking of punctuation. She also gives ideas for what lists you can make here, possible topics for lists. And she also helps with where to keep them in view to look over repeatedly and add to. Project 7 is called Letterbox. This is where you will basically create a box, kind of like a mailbox, and you and your child can write letters to each other, or you can even teach them to write a letter to someone else and how to mail that letter properly. There's something to do weekly. You can even write something out like this where they can kind of fill in the blank so it's easier for them. So that's again just a nice way to get them to work on their writing. Project 8 is called Big Wonderful Numbers. This is where they'll be counting and measuring. They'll be learning numerical facts and putting that in the booklet. They'll be writing numeral and letter. There's also a questionnaire here, as you'll see here, where you'll be interviewing the child, and then you can add photos, illustrations, and stickers. Project 9 is called Body Art. This is where you get a big butcher paper and you trace their full-length body on it. And then you cut it out and fill in their cutout body with words and pictures. These are the things, like it says here, week 1, that you'll be writing things about them. And this is the actual project. And then project 10 is the party. It's called the Good Enough Party. The objective is to teach them how to prepare, because they'll be inviting an audience. They'll be planning a theme. They'll have their areas of interest. They'll learn how to meet a deadline, how to live up to the expectations of others, planning, execution. So they'll be learning a lot by planning a party. And then she just goes into the steps on how to teach your children, you know, how to make up a theme for the party, making the lists and sending invitations, how to prepare, the games you can take, pictures, how to welcome your guests, things like that. And then after the party, reminiscing. She even gives even more party ideas here. And then she gives a list of games they can play at the party. And then finally here, the completion rewards, just ideas on how you can reward every project that they complete. Here is where I went ahead and printed this part out. This is a weekend focus planner, and then it also comes with writing skills tracker. So I'm gonna actually pull the copies that I printed out right now. Okay, so this is the binder. I just printed out the title page of the book, Jot It Down. This is just kind of like the cover page for the planner and the tracker. And so this is what it looks like, and this is just gonna help with planning each project. So this is the introduction, talks about what comes with it. But this is what I really want to show, because I just feel like this best shows what each one's in specifics. So this is for the fairy tale one. So for this one, I printed out several, since there's, you know, several fairy tales that we'll be going over. And so you'll notice that there's a week 1, week 2. This is how you could track each week, because it'll be a whole month that you'll be working on this project. So this is the planning. This is like a little key that you can know what these symbols mean. Brave Writer Lifestyle. So this is the thing that she talks about in the beginning of the book, but it's a nice way that you can make sure you're accomplishing these things along with the projects. So things like poetry, tea time, the movie, nature, art, and music. So you can do like either save for later, like if you haven't done it yet, or if you did complete it, go ahead and do the check mark. And then here are the oral practices. So recitation, memorization, wordplay, narration, storytelling, one-on-one time. So again, throughout the week, if you do one of these things, you can check it off, or you can say, oh, in progress in this case, since they're oral and it's probably takes practice, then you would be putting in progress. And then this is the actual writing project. This is where you check mark if you went ahead and read the description, collected the materials, select fairy tale, the different versions of the fairy tales that you read, the oral narration that the child gives you, and then the visual narration that they draw out, reading the narration aloud to the audience. And then she even put celebrate there. This is nice too, because it kind of gives you some section here to write out what you're doing daily or what you're doing just, on Monday or Tuesday and so forth. And that just repeats for every fairy tale project. Also, there's the skills tracker. So this is the writing skills, the base writing skills that they'll be going over. They'll be able to do the topic, they'll be able to do research, and then you can just check mark, if you jot down their narrative, created their visual narrative. So this whole page is good to have for a portfolio, just to keep track of all the skills that they're learning. And it pretty much goes that format for all the projects. This is what the Art Appreciation Project Weekend Focus looks like. Again, she has the checklist for the Brave Writer Lifestyle and the oral practices. That's the same, and then it's just a little different for the actual writing project that you could check off to complete this project. And then the skills as well is just a little different. Oops, I think I skipped it. You'll notice that the skills are a little different as well, that you could check off for your portfolio, just to track the skills that your children are learning for the whole year. And it just continues that way for each project. Here's the photo journal one, slightly different checklist for the writing project and for the skills, the skill tracker here. So that is all for the Jot It Down program. I'm so excited to use this program because it's going to bring out a lot of fun ways to get my child to hopefully enjoy writing and not suck out the fun of it by forcing them to write too much or forcing them to think too ahead of their level. But it also brings us close together just by spending time together and enjoying reading and narrating, drawing, going to field trips. So it just seems like a really fun way to go over that curriculum of writing. So I look forward to using this, and I can't wait to have all those cute projects finished and to have that in our portfolio. And I hope this video was helpful in just providing what this program entails. And if you do have any questions, anything that I maybe didn't cover, go ahead and leave them in the comments and I'll try to answer them the best way I can. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!